right there. Well, thanks again, Ken. I'm learning a lot on this series, and let's see, we've done 4 on this so far, and you've got
we got about
4 more to go on the resurrection, so people should really be up to par when it comes to this critical doctrine. We'll look forward to hearing more next time. And philosopher Kenneth Samples. Ken, we've been talking about the resurrection. This is the 5th now in a series of what we think are going to be 8 podcasts, and I hope people have been learning and really gaining confidence in this critical doctrine. What are you going to talk about today?
Well, today we're going to introduce some alternative hypotheses. Some people are not persuaded in the resurrection, and they have suggested that maybe there are natural explanations or purely natural hypotheses that can explain it without an appeal to the supernatural. I want to look at 6 in the series, and so in today's podcast, we'll look at 2 of them and critique them.
Great. We'll get to that in just a moment. First, we want to remind people that you can take advantage of a terrific opportunity to be with the scholars for 7 days. Ken, you're going to be on an Alaska cruise with the scholar team, August 8th through 15th. I know you're looking forward to it.
I am. What a great time to spend a little bit of your summer in Alaska, and being able to ask Hugh Ross and Fuzz Rana and Jeff Swearing, Dave Rodstadt, myself, questions, be able to have lunch together, dinner together, and then some great day trips where you can go and explore. I think this is one of the most exciting opportunities that supporters of RTB could be involved with, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know some of these people and chatting with them.
Yeah, you'll be able to be with the scholar team for 7 days, as we mentioned, and yes, everyone will be taking showers, so don't worry about that. Can't beat the food, but the key here is location, 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 as they say in the real estate world. I understand this is the inside passage of Alaska, where you're kind of going through a series of islands and getting real close to glaciers, and you'll have chances to get off the boat and explore gold country and get off and do some wonderful hikes and sightseeing, and even, what do they call it, where you fly over territory?
Oh, yeah.
Flight seeing,
yeah.
Is that what you call it?
Helicopters.
So, yeah. All kinds of terrific chances for recreation, so you're not just on the boat the entire time, although that's not bad by any stretch. Can't beat the food. This is the 7 days of creation, so each session will be led by a scholar. You're going to provide new material on creation, Ken, is that correct?
That's right. There are going to be PowerPoint presentations there. There'll be notes that people will be able to take notes and talk about these issues. There'll be even periods where we'll have informal question and answer sessions. So lots of opportunity to think about the book of nature and the book of Scripture. You can learn all about it, again, by going to our website, reasons.org, where you eventually will get to inspirationcruises.com. They are the company, the boat line that you'll embark on. Incidentally, I think it's leaving out of Vancouver and then going through that inside passage, so you'll make your way to Vancouver, and then there'll be, like, the first day will be at sea, and then you'll be able to take on these short excursions from there. So a great chance to rub elbows with the scholar team. We certainly hope you'll take advantage of it. The rates have come down, so you can go to our site there and learn all about it, see a short video presentation. Well, we certainly hope you'll take advantage of the chance to learn more about God's creation firsthand, see some of the most spectacular creation first of all, and then learn about it. I think Hugh will be talking about the importance of glaciers and God's creation and all that sort of stuff. So again, go to our website and you'll learn all about it there. Again, that's August 8th through the 15th. Ken, let's go ahead and continue this series on the resurrection with alternative hypotheses. And this is where the skeptic would stand up and say, I just don't accept supernatural explanations. Here are other ones, and you're going to talk about at least 2 of those. That's right. And we want to begin by reminding people that we're engaged in an abductive form of reasoning. What is the best explanation? Looking at the data, what kind of conclusion can we draw that best explains all that data? And as we talked about last time, a good explanatory hypothesis is logically consistent.
It has explanatory power and scope. It's able to explain a lot of different kinds of data. It's faithful to the facts, or fits the facts, as a lawyer might say. It avoids unwarranted assumptions, and it can make claims that can be tested. So those again are the criteria. Now, two of the explanatory hypotheses that are purely naturalistic is what we want to look at. And the first hypothesis, we'll call it hypothesis number one, is the resurrection of Jesus could have simply been a legend or a myth. I mean, why do we have to assume the existence of God and that Jesus is divine and all of these kinds of things when maybe the best explanation is it's just a myth?
Yeah, it happened 2,000 years ago, so it got recorded in a book. What's the big deal? Yeah, there are lots of myths.
Right.
Yeah.
Very important that we address it. Let me begin by making the point, Joe, that there just was not sufficient time for myth and legend to enter into the gospel records. That is, the Gospels emerge at a very early date following the events that they report and they describe. I mean, think of it, Jesus is put to death in the year 30 A.D., but there are very good reasons for concluding that the Gospels themselves, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, were likely in existence by the early 60s. So there is a very short period of time, only 30 years, and even that period is going to be buttressed by a few things that I'm going to say in just a minute. Now, here's the issue. If Jesus is crucified in 30 A.D. and the Gospels appear in the early 60s, there are still people living in the early 60s who are conversant with the life of Jesus and the major events of his life, death, and resurrection. They're still living, so the apostles couldn't just come along and make up things, that have no basis in fact. Now, here's the question, though. Why should we believe the Gospels were in existence that early? Well, the Gospels don't mention particular things that would have been of incredible importance to first century Christians. For example, the Gospels nor the book of Acts, neither one of them mention the persecution of Christians under the Emperor Nero. Well, here's the bottom line. Paul and Peter, the apostles Paul and Peter, were martyred under the Neronian persecution, probably sometime between 62 and 64. Why wouldn't they mention that? Because Acts and the Gospels talk a lot about Peter and Paul.
Yeah.
I'm suggesting they don't mention it because the events in the Gospels happened before that.
Yeah, such an important event, you would think it'd be recorded.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, you're telling about the life of Peter and Paul.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you talk about them being executed under the Neronian persecution? They also don't mention a major event that took place in 70 A.D., where Titus's Roman armies come in and destroy Jerusalem and the temple. This has led many to conclude that the Synoptic Gospels are very early in their orientation. And not only that, Joe, a second point here is that there is oral and written sources that bridge the gap between the time of Jesus' death and the times the Gospels were written. Paul's epistles, Galatians and 1 Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians, are probably written, Joe, as early as the late 40s and the early 50s.
So a couple of decades after.
That's right.
Yeah.
You also have source criticism that talks about what kinds of oral and possibly written sources stand behind the Greek Gospels. Well, there is real evidence that the Gospel of Matthew may have been written in a language other than Greek prior to it being written in Greek. So the point I'm making here is it takes time for myth and legend